I think the real difference is bringing that ancient vibration to it that isn't just coming from me. It's coming from generations and generations of deeply spiritual individuals who have carried this on. And I think, you know, feeling that is the biggest difference for me, because it's not just me coming up with something.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every single one of you. I'm so grateful that you come back every single week to listen, learn, and grow. And today is a very special episode for a million reasons. I'm going to start with a couple to get going with. This is the first time that Radhi and I are going to do an interview together.
Yeah.
So this is fun, and there's a special reason for why we're doing it together, because today we're interviewing two of our dearest friends, incredibly talented, the most creative, who have launched a brand new EP called Rise, which we cannot wait for you to hear. It is none other than Willow and Jahnavi Harrison.
Woo! Thank you for having us.
Thank you. This is exciting.
We're so grateful to be with both of you. And
Sounds like a vibe. Sounds like a plan.
But I'm so excited to have you both here. We're both so excited to have you here, and just excited to just have this whole energy here, which we have anyway all day long.
Yes.
And so why not bring it into an interview? So Radhi's going to go with the first question, actually.
I am. I'm going to get my professional Jay Shetty vibe on. Okay, so Willow and Jahnavi, tell me about the first time you guys made your music together.
Oh, well, that would be Surrender.
Yeah.
I just have to put it out there. I was super nervous the first time we got in the studio together because, you know, listening to your music and seeing you doing Kirtan, it was a level of like channeling that I had never seen another musician have. And so I was just like wanting to be worthy, like so badly to be able to make music with you. So that was my initial emotion. When we first started making music together.
I was probably feeling the same way. It was actually such a magical experience. And just as it worked out, I was only in LA for about, I think, like 8-9 days. Mm-hmm. And we only managed to actually get together in the studio the night before I was flying out. Yep. So we knew we had like 6 hours or so, or actually we had as much time as we wanted, but we could only meet in the evening. Exactly. So we were like, okay, there's only so long we're going to go for. Mm-hmm. But there was just such a special energy, actually. We had met up and we had practiced something, and I was nervous too, because I find the studio can be a lot of pressure, and
especially when there's not like a idea that's already set.
Exactly. We didn't have a finished composition or anything, but I think both of us were just feeling excited to work together, and we were like, let's just see what happens. Let's just have fun with this. And if it's not anything, we'll just have had a fun experience and we can work on it another time. And we got so absorbed in it. And it just was flowing. And I remember that, you know, it was around midnight when we finished. We were like, okay, let's listen to the whole thing now. And we were just standing there, and Willow was like, we were like,
we were delirious at this point.
Yeah, we were tired, but we were just, and then we came out of the studio and we were like, what was that? Exactly. What just happened? That was so beautiful. And that it was just so natural. Yeah. So, and
it's very rare that I have those kind of like synergistic, is that a word?
Yeah.
Experiences with other artists, because artists are so, I know I'm very opinionated and I have very outlandish ideas, and sometimes the push and pull of that can be kind of uncomfortable. But for me and Jahnavi, it was like second nature from the start.
It felt like old friends, and even though we're so different in many ways, there was just this feeling of ease and understanding, it's like, that's what you always hope for in collaboration with other artists. So yeah, we were like, we have to do this again.
Yeah.
I love that. The reason it's so special as well is that Radhi and I both absolutely adore you individually in your own music. So like we would be in a car, we'd be playing and listening to you, Willow. Like we'd just be listening to your music. And then I've known Jahnavi now for 15 years. And so I've always been attracted to her music and the way she creates and how devotional it is. And so for us to see you both together
Magic.
is just, it's so fulfilling. So I want to ask you both, and we're going to uncover all the layers as we go along. But
I also, just before you start, I also just want to thank you both
Yes.
for bringing us together.
Round of applause.
You guys were meant to meet either way, like whether it was through us or whether it was through another way. There was 100%, like, you guys were meant to meet. This was meant to happen, and everybody needed this in their life. So I think it was just happened to be us, but it would have been somewhere, somehow it would have happened, because you guys.
But I think you need to take some credit, because it's because of what you.
I'll take it. If you don't want to take it, I'll take it.
But I think you're both
Carry on.
you're both such special people that you attract such wonderful souls all around you, and you're always, I think it's probably going to happen throughout your lives that you're making these beautiful connections. So yeah, we were both, we always talk about that. We're so grateful that you introduced us.
It's just selfish, really, because I really wanted some like new music of yours.
Which artist can I bring together?
No,
Yeah,
thank you. You guys are both really sweet. Like, we love you for that, and we're loving seeing both of your collaboration and friendship, and our friendship all blossoming because of this devotional connect that we all have. And I want to ask you, what have you both learned from each other in this process? And it can be musical or non-musical. It can be anywhere you want to go with it.
A lot of things.
I'll say I feel I've learned so much from Willow. I think one of the very obvious things about the process of working together was our different like pace and way of approaching creative work. And Willow's obviously had so much more experience as a recording artist, as a composer. You know, you've recorded so much and written your own songs. And for me, even though I have recorded music, it's still something I get very nervous about, because most of what I do is sort of live meditation experiences. So we hadn't worked together that much apart from that one song. So I didn't really know Willow's sort of style and
Especially
pace.
with production.
Yeah. And the first day I was taken aback. I was like, wow, Willow's so confident about her, what she's looking for in the sound, and also fast paced. And I tend to be quite slow, too slow sometimes. Like, people are always wanting me to make decisions faster. So although it was like, by the end of it, I was like, wow, this has really pushed me creatively in such a wonderful way. Initially, I was like,
I know. I was trying to like,
not in a bad way, not in a scary way, but it was just like, when you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be growing here. I'm gonna learn something
you
here.
Up a gear.
Yeah, it took me up a gear. But I love that. I was sharing with someone the other day that Willow's approach is I feel it's the ideal artistic approach, which is to be,
thank you.
Yeah, it's to be curious and not overly controlling of the end result. Like, it's really to discover, for the studio to be a space of exploration, rather than like, I want to have this specific thing and it can't be anything other than that. Totally. It's a very playful and curious approach. And I think I can tend to be more focused on like, okay, but it has to be just like this. So yeah, but by the end of it, I just felt like, wow, I'm ready to be just more fearless in creating and more open to what I could discover. That's just one thing. There's many more, but I'll let you.
I think, I would even almost say like the inverse. Like I felt in times that I was overshooting and like kind of getting lost in the, but what about this? And we could do this, and maybe it's this. And like, I felt like Jahnavi was really instrumental in like kind of grounding me and being like, okay, what's the intention behind this? Like, I know you like that sound, but why are we using that sound? You know what I mean? Like, what's the where does that sound go in the song? What is that sound gonna say? Like, what's the intention of this? So like your intentionality with everything, you might think that it's sometimes a hindrance, but I think it's a blessing, because, you know in your heart of hearts what every single instrument and every single lyric means to you. And you're not just throwing things at the wall like, let's see if this sticks and maybe this, you know what I mean? And I think those two approaches, they just complete each other in a really nice way. As they say, opposites attract. And I think that this was a case of that.
What do you guys feel, both of you together and individually, what was your intention for the music that you were creating together?
I always want my music to bring people closer to themselves, make them feel like they're learning something, or there's a thought that's being planted that grows over time. And listening to Jahnavi's music, that's exactly how I felt. And then seeing it live, it was like, okay, how can I just bottle this? Just to, like, I just want to have this. Obviously, that's the beautiful nature of it, because you can't bottle it and you can't just have it. That's why it's beautiful. But you know, I think that going into it, that was and I had never made a devotional album before. So I was even extra excited to explore that different part of me and what I could do with this new, you know, with this new path in my life.
I think also just speaking from having heard you do it and just hearing you talk about it when we're all having lunch or when we're hanging out, and just, I feel like your intention was so pure for it. Like from the moment that you first heard devotional music, I remember the first time we were doing a session, and then I was like, oh crap, I can't sing. And then Radhi can sing, but she chooses not to. And then we were like, oh, let's play Jahnavi on our phone. And then that's the first time we all meditated in that way.
And then there's Willow on the floor.
I know, just like,
oh my goodness. Like just fully with your heart open, like ready to receive. And that's the one thing about you, like, and actually on that note, when you were even thinking about doing this album, I feel like from what Jahnavi has told me and even experiencing from you, you wanted to get things so right. So whether it was your pronunciation or whether it was like, oh, what does this word actually mean? Like, oh, how is this word used? Like you really want to understand the depths. You're not just trying to
and that journey, I want it to continue, and I want to keep nourishing that. Because just through this music, I've found such a deep love for just the Bhakti tradition in general. And I'm just so excited to just dive deeper into that and learn more and just broaden my horizon in that devotional sense.
Which is so beautiful. Like you want depth. You don't just want, you're not just like, oh, this sounds really good.
Exactly.
You know, you really wanted to understand it and feel it in you so that other people can feel it.
Definitely.
And I think that makes a difference. Like both of you feel it so deeply and you've experienced it in different ways. So you're trying to share that experience with other people, but you can only share an experience that you've had yourself.
Exactly.
And so I think you really feel that through both of your music and through your words, and it comes from your heart. So, but I haven't heard from you. Your turn.
No, I think that definitely that was our desire to try to capture the essence of what that is, this experience with mantra, with sacred sound, and share it in a way that makes it that little bit more accessible for people who haven't experienced it before. So that's manifest in the form of, you know, these songs. Like the typical mantra session might be like half an hour, and you're singing the same thing over and over again. That might be very daunting for someone who's never experienced that before. So one of our mantra tracks is 2 minutes long, and some of our songs are, you know, touching on stories or themes from the Bhakti tradition, but they're more in a kind of typical song format with, you know, a couple verses, a bridge, like that. So it's something familiar, but it's conveying something of this deep, authentic tradition. And so I think it's very natural that when something profoundly affects your life and touches your heart and offers a space of shelter and upliftment, you want to share it with other people. So that's what we want to just give it as a gift, you know, if we can. And I really treasure the fact that we both had that same intention, and it makes working on anything just a complete joy, because you feel so aligned, and you know,
and that trust was really there. Like we both knew our intentions, And so, trying to do things over long distance because of COVID and, having to make decisions maybe without one another because of time differences. And, that trust was always there because we knew that our intentions were the same.
Yeah.
Which is also probably why what you were saying before about how your differences actually didn't make a difference in a negative way, because you both had such a deep-rooted intention that even if, I'm not saying you guys did, but even if there was something that you're like, oh gosh, like,
Exactly.
but as soon as you take yourself back to the intention, you guys were like, oh.
And there were a couple of
doesn't
those
matter.
things.
Yeah, of course,
there were.
naturally.
Yeah.
Which could bring feuds to people, but because of how deep-rooted everything was for you, it kind of just didn't hit that strongly. It was,
Yeah, we just had to talk it through. I remember we had a long phone call because we were trying to do creative things over long distance, and there were other artists that were involved, and we just had to call each other and just be like, man, like this is really hard, like, and that was really healing for both of us, I feel. Just to be able to express that to one another and to be able to like kind of come back and be like, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Let's not stress about something in a material sense. Because that's not why we're doing it anyway. So that was a good convo.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And even I would say even in terms of the musicality of what we were doing, like, Willow was taking the role of producer, and I know it takes me a lot to sort of sometimes break out of the box of the sound of what I do, which is often rooted quite in the traditional origins of the Kirtan tradition. So I remember we were playing with different sounds and with, kind of bass sounds and electronic sounds, and Willow was getting so excited on the little sampler, and I was just sitting behind her like, okay, let's see where this goes. But I always, initially I was like, okay, let's see. But then I really felt a sense of trust because I knew, as we've said, that we were both aiming for people to have this heart connection with the music. So I was like, I'm going to see where Willow takes it. And I trust, we're both aiming for the same space. And that's a beautiful thing.
There were a lot of things that at first seemed to you to be like, oh, that sound is a little deep. That's a deep bass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but trust
like,
me, Jahnavi, people are going to hear this and go, oh, it's going to hit right in their chest. And then
Right.
you hear it and then you're like, oh, wow, like, I see this.
And I feel that.
Exactly.
I feel that.
And it's such a like how you guys are even communicating now. You can just see there's no ego involved in it. It's like you're like, yeah, you were right, and you're like, yeah, you were right, and just the communication. I imagine it's so difficult, even in relationships. It's sometimes difficult, even if you've known someone for such a long time.
Totally.
You're sometimes scared of saying something that you think might hurt their feelings.
Totally.
But you guys have built you've built a foundation on honesty and integrity, and so it's easy for you guys to communicate because you know where that person's coming from.
100%.
I think it's a really important part of the story that you guys created this during COVID, during lockdown.
Definitely.
Being in different parts of the world for a big part of this work, coming together for a very short part of it.
Yeah.
It's like you created a really collaborative piece at a time when the music's needed most, at a time when it's actually difficult to be collaborative and creative.
Definitely.
Like the relationship you guys built, just to anyone who's listening or watching right now, it's fun to watch you both just go back and forth, but to think about the fact that you've actually done this at a time when you weren't always in the same room, I think that's a really important thing to honor. And what I'm intrigued by now is to understand from both of you and to hear from both of you about your own journey. So Willow, we'll start with you in terms of, tell us about your own journey. You've been sharing so much more about mental health, anxiety, your own healing, always through your music, but also through your words. Tell us about your journey towards wanting to do more, even more healing, devotional music that you felt is going to help people this year, because this collaboration you both created this year was truly wanting to help people
100%.
with the pain that everyone's been going through. So tell us a bit about your journey to that over the last, decade.
Ooh, it's a lot. I mean, I don't want to go into like my whole life story, but I mean, is that what
We're listening.
Should I do that or should I?
Wherever your heart wants to go. We're with
Okay.
you. We're with you the whole way. Whatever you genuinely feel like sharing from the heart.
Totally.
Yeah.
So my first interest in, you know, the lifestyle of just integrity and spirituality and meditation. I was introduced to that at a very young age. My mother had a bunch of beautiful art pieces and books about Hindu gods and goddesses. And I would just sit on the floor of her meditation room and just like look at these beautiful photos and read, you know, about the sentiments of these gods and goddesses. And from a very young age, I was so encapsulated by that and so inspired by that. And, you know, fast forward to, you know, me doing all the Whip My Hair stuff and being a pop star and having to realize that that's not the content that I wanted to put out into the world. That's not really the person that I wanted to be. And that was a really difficult decision to make.
What made you realize that?
I would go out and I would be with peers, like kids my age, and I would just be stopped and constantly, oh, that's the girl from Whip My Hair. Oh, can you da-da-da? And I just saw my other friends being able to live and being able to have experiences and being able to make mistakes and not have the whole world know what's going on with them. And so that kind of made me think, like, is this really truly the life that I want to be living? Like, I want to actually live. I don't just want to be like a caricature for the world to look at, you know? So that took a lot of courage to just say, you know what, I'm not going to continue. There were a lot of people who had invested in me. There were projects that were already paid for, scripts that were already written that I had to go back on. I'm surprised that I didn't get sued. It was a crazy time. But through that, I was like, okay, now that I'm free of this lifestyle that I don't want to live, now what's the lifestyle I want to live? And so I was so confused. I kind of went into just a spiral of just like depression, desperation. I was self-harming. I was hanging out with people that were just wrong for me. And that lasted for about 2 to 3 years. And then I started realizing this is psychotic, literally. Like, I have to stop doing this. This is not the person I want to be either. So I was like, okay, I hadn't been recording music during that time. So I was like really in the dark, like no creative outlet, no.
You weren't doing anything creative?
No, I was really just in the dark, in the darkness, I should say. And so then I started kind of coming out of my shell and trying to get back into the studio, which felt so like weird and daunting because I was like, what do I make? Like, am I going to go back and just be like, hey, like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So like the first song that I had put out was called Sugar and Spice. You could probably find it somewhere, but it was a Radiohead loop. And I remember just listening to that and going, I think I can continue. Like that little spark of like inspiration was just like, ooh, like I think I'm coming back. Yeah. And so, you know, ever since then, I've just been kind of digging more into that. And as I've gone deeper just over that time of just, you know, trying different types of music out, learning how to play the guitar, I just really realized that I just want to be in service. The only thing that makes, you know, having this lifestyle worth it, and for me to feel like I have a purpose at all and to not fall back into that dark spiral, was making music that I felt would inspire people and that I felt would be in service to others. And that's really the only reason why I feel like I got out of that dark place, because people would come to me and tell me, you know, that they were in that same dark space that I was and that my voice brought them out of that. And that would just bring me so much joy and just make me feel like I had a purpose. Like there's a reason why I have all of these resources and why, you know, people are looking at me and why I'm in the tabloids and all of this. And so it just gave me a reason. And this is just expanding on that reason. And I'm just so excited to continue to expand that reason and to grow that reason and help that reason spread to others. Whew.
Thank you for
That is
sharing
beautiful.
that.
Thank you for so much for sharing
yeah,
that. That is
was-
beautiful. Like, that's phenomenal. It's amazing how you came to that conclusion for yourself, that service was where you wanted to be. And that's at the heart of devotional music. Like, that is it. So it's incredible to hear you explain just the natural challenges that come with your experience of life and the kind of back and forth and the recognition of both, that I don't want to be this, but I also don't want to be.
Exactly.
That's thank you so much for sharing that.
All before the age of 20.
I know, yeah. Oh yeah, Willow just turned 20.
It's a crazy life. It's a crazy life, y'all. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And Jahnavi, I want to hear from you because, so as I was saying before, Jahnavi and I have known each other for 15 years. Radhi's probably known Jahnavi for like 10.
Since 2012-ish.
Okay,
No,
so-
I know I heard Jahnavi 2010 or
Right,
something.
yeah.
So a good 10 years.
Yeah, known each other for about
I was a
8.
fangirl.
The first time we met, Radhi was like, "This is a tattoo I got inspired by one of
Inspired
your-"
by your music.
Wow.
And she was like, oh, okay. Amazing.
I love that.
She was like, that's not what you're meant to do. But you know, Jahnavi, you grew up in the Bhakti tradition.
Yeah.
And so this music has been a part of your life forever.
Yeah.
And it's been a part of your soul. But also it was different being someone who's a consumer of it or hearing it, but then to actually creating and sharing it. Like that journey must have been really interesting. Can you share that with us, that transition of growing up listening to it, but then actually being someone who's sharing this tradition and culture so widely?
Yeah. Well, I grew up being involved in it all the time, every day, really. You know, we would do, I attended a school at the temple that was very near to my house. So the school was, you know, we did regular academic subjects, but we also studied the Bhagavad Gita and we did chanting together before we started our school day. So that was very normal, but it was collective. It was, you know, I wasn't singing on my own or anything. And also my dad was very well known as a singer of Kirtan all over Europe and other countries of the world. Back in the cassette tape days, the cassettes used to be everywhere. And so as I got older, I mean, he was like, you know, he was like a hero. He is a hero to me, but we loved his singing and I felt, I mean, I always loved music, but as I got older, people would be like, "Oh, do you sing like your dad?" And like sing, you know.
Hate that.
Willow, you must know nothing about that.
So yeah,
Nothing in common, you guys.
No, I know. So I think I was quite shy as a child, very shy and introverted, and I also felt this pressure that people are like wanting to see if I'm also going to be like my dad, and so I was too shy to I didn't really know that I knew I could sing because I sang, you know, in my bedroom in the shower, and but I didn't know. I remember actually I went to regular school for a few years, and in my first year of regular school, and this is something we share as well, like a bit of unusual schooling experiences. But I was so shy, and it was because, you know, growing up with this tradition, I knew that okay, I'm a little bit different from other kids, and you know, I've grown from the age of 4 talking about life and death and the body being like a coat that, you know, you take off and put on a new body. Like these kind of concepts, reincarnation and karma, and kids don't talk about that kind of stuff. So I was really, really shy. And the school play was the end of year school play was The Wizard of Oz, and my teacher cast me as the Cowardly Lion. Because I think she knew that it would help me to, you know, she could see that I was shy, but it would be good for me to play a role that would kind of bring me out of myself. So I remember I had to sing a song on my own on the stage and like, you know, swing my tail around. And it was this moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm singing in front of people. And it's nice, you know, but that was it then for many years. And it wasn't until I was 19, 20, around your age, that I started to lead Kirtan. People were friends were just encouraging me. And I found that it was something that I felt more and more connected with. But it is because it's such a deep tradition, and it's a form of prayer, form of worship. It is kind of a thing where you have to navigate your ego, because it's not a performance genre of music. It's a prayer and an offering. So for many years, I didn't really identify with being a person to sort of go out in the world and like share this with lots of people. It was just something I did within my community. But as circumstance goes, you know, sometimes destiny finds you and you try and push something away. Many times, I think, you know, Jay and I have had probably many conversations over the years where I've been like, I just don't know if this is what I meant to do, or like, yeah, I do this, you know, that kind of thing, where you keep trying to turn away from something, but it kept coming back to me, kept knocking on my door.
Both of us kept on trying to go, no music.
Yeah.
No music. And it was like, yes.
Yeah. You know, like when you have to write on a form, you know, occupation, and I would always stop and be like, what do I write there? You know, because I wrote, I did art, I was a dancer, but I didn't want to write musician or artist or writer. I just didn't know what to write because I didn't fully identify with being able to say, this is what I am. So yeah, it came bit by bit. And I think one of the big catalysts for me with feeling confident to try to accept the role of, you know, embracing my creativity and engaging it in service of spreading this type of music more is the fact that yoga, meditation, mindfulness, those things over the last 10 years became so much more mainstream than they ever were. And when I was a child, I never would have imagined that would be the case. I thought that was just the strange way that I grew up, you know, and that like kids used to ask me like, so why don't you, you know, like, why are you vegetarian? And why do you have a name like that? And stuff like that.
Jeez,
And yeah. But now it's like, no, this is it's pretty normal, especially in LA. It's like, so yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm so grateful to be doing this now. It brings me so much fulfillment.
Yeah, we're grateful to you too for sticking it through and continuing on, and we're never going to let you quit. So
I don't want to quit.
Johnny,
yeah,
music is gonna keep coming back.
I know.
but we love that. Yeah, we love that. Both of you, for everyone who's listening and watching, I think there's such a pressure these days for young people, especially to find their purpose or discover what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And you can see in both of the way you are experiencing, it's kind of not been like that. It's kind of been much more of this meandering path and kind of getting lost and then refinding and then feeling stuck and then questioning everything and then finding it. And this almost like magical approach to like, I found my purpose or I found my, you know, calling. Exactly. It doesn't work like that. And it's nice to see two people who are creating and artistic, but it's kind of coming over time.
It's such a process. It's such a journey, and there's so many internal obstacles that need to be looked at and that need to be worked on until you can step into your calling, until you can step into your purpose fully. And God knows I'm still trying to step in.
Yes.
I'm still trying to step in.
Yeah.
What would you say are both of your, I don't know, daily things that you do in your lives that help enrich you or uplift you? What are the things that you've started to do? Yeah, I think on a daily basis, because I feel like they're the things that really make, you know, a difference if you're doing something regularly.
You're so good at this.
Yeah.
I've watched a few of your. No, I haven't. But thank you. Please continue.
Well, I find that daily meditation, I practice mantra meditation daily, and that is something that I really hold on to. Like I imagine, you know, if you take life to be like a river, that is, the current is flowing very fast. In some of these sacred rivers in India where people, they take a dip, you know, as a purifying kind of act, they have these metal chains that are in the water that you hold on to when you go in to make sure you don't get swept away. So I see the mantra meditation as sort of like this chain to hold on to in the rushing current of life. And it really, even though it's not easy, I know Willow has, you know, a yoga practice you've been cultivating for a long time. To do anything daily is not an easy thing. And you don't always feel like doing it. And sometimes you do it robotically. And then you're like, you know, I got to come back to, you know, the deeper reason of why I'm doing this. But to just keep that commitment, it develops a relationship with sacred space within. It develops a relationship with the divine that really is, it's a lifesaver. It gives me inspiration. It gives me sense of connection, and it's a meditation. The particular mantra that I recite daily, the meditation is on how can I be of service, and a prayer for service. Please allow me to be of service in this life. So I love how Willow was describing that service. It brings you out of that space, because every day we have to push against our tendency to be self-absorbed. It's like at every moment we tend to be caught in our head thinking about our own worries and things like that, and to turn that around to how can I serve. It's such a dramatic state change. And so for me that helps. It helps then, whether I'm doing one thing or another, just to keep connecting with that core reason of why, of what is the purpose of my existence, to serve. It makes things a lot more simpler and joyful.
Yeah. I'm just going to piggyback off of what Jahnavi said. Yes, I've been cultivating a yoga practice for about, I want to say, 2 year and a half.
We see those posts.
Yeah. I want to say 2 years or a year and a half. And, another thing, aside from meditation that I try to do daily, sometimes it doesn't happen. I read every day. Right now I'm reading Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. So that's something that I've been putting my time into every day. So whether it's, literature, yoga, or meditation, one of those things is happening every day. So I'm just like Jahnavi said, I truly believe that consistency and that repetition is what's needed in order to get into a state where it is second nature, where you don't have to think about it anymore, where it's habitual. Exactly. And that's where I'm trying to be. That's where I'm striving to.
I think what you both are doing, keeping it consistent, that's probably how, you've realized what the benefits are, that living a life without it, that feels more unnatural than doing the practice. I was thinking about how, both of your practices are things which people have been doing for years, such an ancient thing that people have been doing. But what's incredible about your music is that I think it's shown so many people who are probably unfamiliar with meditation, unfamiliar with yoga, or see it as something that's so unfamiliar, that meditation music or mantra music is for everybody. Like, it's such a universal thing that so many different types of people can connect to it just by your different backgrounds, that you two have connected to it in such a different way. And how you're sharing it, it's beautiful to see how different meditation music and devotional music can actually be, and how many different types of people it can connect.
Yeah, I'm glad you put that bass on it so I can turn it up in the car.
See, I knew it. Yes. I needed that. Right. I knew it.
I love it. The first time I heard it, I was telling Jahnavi, I was just like, it's just all the music, what you've made it's like that perfect combination between being timeless and pure, but then being current and relevant.
Exactly.
And you've created, in my opinion, whatever it's worth, like, it sounds like a no genre. Like, it's new, it's different. It's not, you can't just go, oh yeah, that's that kind of music. I wouldn't even put it under meditational music. Like, it's beyond that. And I think that, credit to both of your artistry to be able to expand that much. What's different about creating devotional music for both of you, and Jahnavi, for you to stretch out of your comfort zone from a music place of now creating this new genre that you have together? So for Willow, for you, more like what's different about creating devotional music for you from your perspective, and then Jahnavi, from yours, like almost going the other way and like, oh, now we're creating something a bit newer to what I'm used to.
My lyrics that, in the Willow album and in Ardipithecus, my first album, I talk a lot about duality. I talk a lot about spirit. I talk a lot about, cycles. I have a song that's called Cycles on my first album. The language is very modern. And what I love about Sanskrit is that it's deeper than language. And I think the real difference is bringing that ancient vibration to it that isn't just coming from me. It's coming from generations and generations of deeply spiritual individuals who have carried this on. And I think, feeling that is the biggest difference for me, because it's not just me coming up with something.
Wow.
Powerful.
That's really powerful. Yeah, that's incredible to think of it like that. That's so well articulated. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Bravo.
You accept me.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Wow. I've been hit by your articulation of that. That's so beautiful. Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I think for me it was almost, I wouldn't say the opposite, because naturally we're trying to retain the purity of devotional space. And like with recording, we set up a little altar. Like in the studio, it's really nice to have that feel to be a sacred space.
That intention, like you're making it.
Yeah, but with this EP, because most of the time I'm singing mantra, which obviously those words are not mine. I'm putting my heart and my prayer into it, but I'm also trusting the power of that ancient vibration, that timeless vibration, to touch the heart of another. And for that reason, I don't take credit when someone has, a powerful experience with it. It's like, oh yeah, that's what it does. That's what it does to me too. So I'm just trying to, facilitate this experience. But with this album, I definitely was stretching myself, because I think just before we came together, I'd been recently feeling a lot more inspired to write lyrics in English that convey some of these ideas and themes, definitely. Which was daunting for me because it's something I hardly ever do, let alone record. I have tons of voice notes in my phone, which will never see the light of day, ideas that I've had. But it was so cool because I didn't think we would actually work on those things. But when I showed some of them to Willow, she was so encouraging and excited about it. And I was sort of like, well, what do you think? Like, you add your lyrics in too. She was like, no, I love this. I think we should go for it. I was like, really? And then so to actually bring some of those ideas to life, for me, that was a beautiful experience of being able to come outside of the space of, okay, this is just mantra. It's not me, but here's this, ancient sound vibration, to actually, here's some words that I wrote, which convey how I want to, take a snapshot of this, this sentiment, for instance, of surrender, or what's
how you've experienced it,
how I've experienced it, or what's meaningful to me or to us, and for me, that was a really, that was extremely powerful. I came away being like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I could feel that sense of hesitancy. That's why I was like, yes. I was like, let's go full fledged.
Yeah. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, you gonna know the greatness of you today.
What's both of you live real lives in the real world. You go through your challenges every single day, and people who listen to this are going through their own challenges. What's been something that's been really beautiful or powerful for both of you individually that you feel has helped you discover answers at tough times, or find new directions at tough times? What is it that both of you have turned to in your own life, whether it be musical or not, that you think that almost, what is it that people can do to express themselves more? Because it feels like so many of our feelings do get bottled up and do just get thought about inside. What has been powerful for you individually?
I mean, it might be a little unorthodox,
Yeah.
but I actually really, really enjoy looking at myself in the mirror and explaining, like telling, like having a conversation with myself, basically. Like when I'm having tough emotions that I feel like I don't want to express to other people, or I feel like embarrassed or whatever it is, I always try to just look at myself and be like, no, you're valid. Like, explain the full depth of everything that you're feeling, and then look at yourself and explain back to yourself why those emotions, not why those emotions are okay, but accepting yourself in a certain way. And, you know, sometimes when the FaceTime doesn't work and people don't answer their phone, you can talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And it does work. It does work for me. It does.
I love that.
Me
That's so
too.
good. Yeah, I've never heard anyone do that in the mirror.
I feel like it's taking journaling to another level.
Yeah,
'Cause you're
definitely.
actually facing yourself, which I think a lot of the times we are battling with our own self rather than with other people. And so actually like looking at yourself in the mirror and speaking to yourself is so powerful.
It gets deep. The tears start flowing and then you start looking
stop
at yourself.
crying. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're like, dang, like, I see you. Like, we're together in this. Like, we got each other.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I hope everyone tries that out this week.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening or watching, try it out. I'm being serious.
It's a good,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel weird saying it because
No,
some
it's not.
people, you know, are like, that's ridiculous. But I've done it.
No.
And it has stopped the tears.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were speaking that for me, writing has always been a powerful one. And it's funny because I think of the page being like a mirror. And I think many people find writing to be like that.
Yeah.
To the point where I remember some difficult points in my life where I didn't write for a very long time. For probably 2 years, I didn't write anything on a page because I was afraid of what would come out and what I would see. I felt just this complete block, you know, and then to release that, to start, I always feel such a relief when I put a pen on the paper and start to write. And I was introduced to the practice of free writing some years ago. There's a famous book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and this practice of morning pages is something that many people have found a lot of, just incredible experiences from. So I started to do that, and I still turn to that when I tried to do it regularly, but it's also one of those things you go through phases, you know. But for me, so writing is always a huge help. Stating the obvious, I think, you know, Kirtan, meditation, music, of course, but my other huge one, which I think Willow and I share, is to connect with nature.
100, yep.
Just to walk. I mean, I think I try and go for a walk in nature every day, and without fail, it's like a balm. It's uplifting.
Yes.
It brings me back to myself. It sparks ideas and creativity. It's just like the road and the page. They're my two friends that really help me so much.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's so awesome. And I guess that's what's inspired a lot of your work. I know, Jahnavi, whenever you're doing your BBC Pause for Thought sessions, you talk a lot about the environment and climate change and that. Where do you see that intersection between like art and the environment or climate change or expression and that? Is there a synergy there, or is it just something that you feel is a different part of you where your care comes from?
I think it's absolutely intertwined. I mean, nature is the most beautiful art that we can witness and observe. I'm so inspired by the natural world, and my mom is a really avid gardener and lover of, you know, wild plants and herbs, and she sort of brought us up like that to observe and learn about all the properties of plants and trees around us. So I'm kind of obsessed with plants and flowers, and people could laugh at me, but it's like I'm always looking. I'm inspired by the textures, by the shapes, by the different aromas, everything. And so our nature inspires me creatively immensely. And in terms of caring for nature, I think like a person, the more you know a person, the more you care. So the more we observe and connect and feel a sense of relationship with nature, that care, it's like, why wouldn't I care? That it's a beautiful exchange.
It nourishes me.
Absolutely. There's a mutual exchange of nourishment going on. And I think also with the particular type of creativity and art, you know, the questions that I'm asking or that we're asking about service, about divinity, these kinds of things, they bring us also closer to our deepest essence, which I believe is meant to be in harmony with nature. So the more that you're coming into that space, again, it just becomes a very natural connection to feel. And so I'm kind of a nature addict. And I know, like, when I visited Willow in her home, you know, there's such a beautiful view of the ocean, and it's like, it's just it's a part of you, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You gotta be there.
I have to. I think a significant decline in my mental health would happen if I were to live in a city.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I do live in a city, but if I were to live like amongst buildings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I need to wake up and see trees. I need to
just one tree.
Exactly.
At least one.
At least one. At least one. I need I'm a nature addict. What can I say?
Yeah.
Just like you.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of the biggest healing agents in my life, 100%.
Yeah. Willow, we've been talking about this for the past couple of days about how you see this connection between spirituality and science and physics and spirituality.
Now she's going to get going.
You know, and you've always been very much talking about like science and physics and like, but then you're also really interested in spirituality. Yeah. Tell us about how you started to see so early in your life the connection and synergy between the two.
Yes.
Because I think so often they're talked about so separately or
100%.
they're seen as like divisive or disconnected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest moments in my life that made me really move towards this marriage of spirituality and science was, I had been reading a lot of spiritual literature. I had been reading a lot of Osho, I read this one book called Oneness, and that book changed my life forever. And just the idea of vibration, and that everything is vibration really hit me because I am a musician and music is like the biggest love of my life. And then learning about string theory was just opened my mind into such a place that it was like, these two things are the same. Like people think that they're separate, and in some ways they are, but in the fundament, they're just two sides of the same coin. And so that inspired me to just dive really deep into the physical world and just how things work. And that's how I just got into physics and started studying physics. I've been studying more of the spiritual lane recently. It's hard, I will say, to study them deeply at the same time. But I study them separately, deeply, and I go back and forth and then try to figure out how to bring them together in some way. But in my life, I'm constantly relating my spiritual experiences with all of the scientific things that I've read, or, just being in physics class and telling my physics teacher like, oh, you should read this book. And he's like, okay, I'm a physics teacher. I'm not a metaphysics teacher. So I just want to continue to just get more intelligent and more intelligent while also losing my ego. I think is where I'm trying to go, which is kind of, counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I think it is possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
intelligence in service.
Exactly. And so that's really just, I have lots of goals. But that's one of them.
Save the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have lots of goals. But they all give me joy, and really just my curiosity for both makes life just exciting. Those two things just make my life feel exciting to me.
Yeah. I actually think that paradox is what makes it exciting.
Yes.
If your pursuit was only to become intelligent, you'd get bored.
Exactly.
And if your pursuit was only to remove ego, it wouldn't be as exciting.
Exactly.
It would be quite tough. And so actually both
Those
of them
two,
together is a beautiful path, and often the path that can only be walked when you do both paths to really get it right. So 100%. I love that.
100%.
I love that. What were you gonna ask?
I wasn't.
I wanna add something. That's also why I really admire you, Jay, because you, while also having been a monk for 5 years, 3 years, you are also one of the most intelligent people I know. And that's so inspiring to see that you can do both and that both can be done. It just inspires me to do it. It just inspires me to try to actually put that into my own life. And I'm just so happy that you're in my life so that I can see you grow and constantly learn from you. And that's really amazing to me.
Oh, you're the sweetest. I'm like getting all emotional now, but
Now we're just gonna all be crying.
yeah. No, I love that. And I really
I'm your
appreciate
fan.
Yeah.
I'm your fan.
No,
That was like Willow's 40-year-old grandma inside her talking.
I know.
Proud to see.
I know.
I love it.
no, I really appreciate that from you. It's, I think we both have a lot more in common than we know too.
Totally.
We're kind of discovering it recently.
I love
So,
that you guys have
Yeah.
so I'm just like, oh yeah, I can learn a lot. And that's why, I think what we all were talking about yesterday is, and I think why we all like being around each other is, and why everyone who's listening or watching, I'm hoping that this is encouraging you to connect with like-hearted people, connect with and collaborate with people that you're close to, because when you can be yourself and you don't have to apologize by asking for permission to say something or expressing who you are, and you welcome that. I think that's the kind of community that we're all looking for, where
100%.
where people just
Is
try.
it right to say sadhu sangha? Is that it?
Yeah. Oh, there
Sadhu
we go.
sangha.
Pulling it out.
Breaking
Oh,
out
wow.
the Sanskrit.
Yes.
Yeah. So sadhu sangha, for those who don't know, Willow's now going to give the definition. No.
Is
Gonna give a
Yeah,
song.
go-
you wanna,
no,
okay,
no, I'd love
is
you to explain it.
basically your spiritual family, you know, the like-minded individuals around you that facilitate your growth towards pure love for God. And that's fire in my eyes.
Yeah.
I want to do a mic drop.
Exactly. yes.
I love it. All right. So we end every On Purpose episode with a fill in the blank and a final five. So fill in the blank is as it is. We'll read out a sentence for both of you and you both will fill in the blank. We've got different ones for both of
I'm
you.
gonna add some
Okay.
too.
Okay. And then we're going to do a final five. So we'll start with fill in the blank and you do Willow, I'll do Jahnavi.
Okay. Making music is about.
Unlocking people's hearts.
Peace is found.
When my actions are in alignment with my values and my heart.
I love that.
I want my listeners to.
I want my listeners to break down in dance with the love of God.
Hey.
That's what I want.
I love that. Like that massive dance party we had before COVID.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
before COVID.
Okay. Music allows me to.
Fly.
Love that.
Vulnerability allows me to.
Be strong.
The word rise is about.
Moving up, going into my heart. And like we said in the song, don't hide from the questions within that rise within.
Oh, she loves
That is really good though. It's like, questions arise inside and we just try and
Yeah.
we always try and push them down. Yeah, I love that.
I wish I knew 10 years ago that.
Oof.
Ooh.
Other people's opinions don't matter.
Hey.
Oof.
Okay, Jahnavi. 2020 has allowed me to.
Wow. I'm like envisioning 2020. 2020 has allowed me to create.
And
Create as I haven't before in the past.
well, Willow, creativity is about.
Creativity is about expressing oneself entirely.
Love that. Collaboration is about.
Listening.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, Jahnavi. Yes.
Love that. Awesome.
I feel cute when.
This one's obviously not on the list.
From Jay's list of questions.
I feel cute when Prema is coming onto me. Yeah, I'm loving God.
Jahnavi, you feel cute when.
I feel cute when I'm around Radhi.
Yes.
What have you done to this interview?
I think it ended it really well. Go on, ask
Okay, so these are the final five. That was very good, by the way. Round of applause
Fantastic.
from the
Fantastic
blank, you guys.
Trying.
Final five. So these have to be answered in one word or one sentence maximum.
Oh.
And they're the same questions for both of you. So I'll ask the question and then both of you can go in
Well, maybe
any
you guys
order.
can be like a buzz or a beep to answer first.
Buzz or a beep?
Yeah,
Wait, what?
buzz. So like he'll ask the question and whoever's got the answer first, buzz, beep.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. Oh, all right.
Getting competitive.
Yeah, I know. All right.
I'm like,
You better not go. Be a bit competitive.
Okay. Okay. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned this year? We'll put a sound effect in. We'll put a sound effect in to make it more.
detachment.
Beautiful.
The power of community.
Love that. Okay. The second question is, this is one of my favorite questions I ask on the show. So, what do you know to be absolutely true, but a lot of people may disagree with you on? And what is it that you're so confident about and so sure about in your life, but a lot of people may disagree and they may not necessarily understand?
Self-love is the most important love.
Nice.
But I don't know if anyone would disagree.
I'd say connection with spirit and the divine is essential for a purposeful life.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see people disagreeing.
Yes, I could. Yes.
Yeah. All right. The third question is, if you could set one law that everyone had to follow in the world, what would it be? If you had to create a new law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
You're like, stop.
I know. I'm like, I need this to be good.
Just in case someone's listening.
I'm gonna give two different, because this is too important to me to just say in one way.
Two laws. You get two laws. You can take Jahnavi's too.
It's either treat people the way you want to be treated, or treat people with the utmost respect at all times, no matter what. I feel like that would help a lot of the wars and a lot of the inequality that goes on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful answer.
I want Willow's laws, but also I was thinking I don't know how this would actually be manifest or policed, but a law about being truthful and honest. Can you imagine if everyone had to be truthful, if there had to be integrity to one's word?
Yeah.
What a place the world would look like, along with Willow's laws of love and respect.
It's like that movie. Did you see that Ricky Gervais movie where they actually did that? It was like a movie where
Or they couldn't lie or something.
Where everyone, the man who invented lying.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That was a funny movie.
Yeah.
I remember the Jim Carrey one, Liar, Liar.
Liar. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so two more questions left. Fourth question is, what is your personal favorite song on the EP and why? So you can be over one sentence on this.
What is my personal favorite song on the EP and why? I'd have to say Born to Give. Just because the instrumentation, it's like, when do you ever hear a guitar solo on top of a mantra that's being repeated? Like we're saying Sachit Ananda like over electric guitar solo.
Oh yeah.
While Sachit Ananda is being repeated. I just was like, I'd never heard anything like that. So I was like, I really love this moment. I think that would be my favorite song.
I love that. That's cool. That's a cool reason. Go on.
It's really, I mean, honestly, I actually do love them all equally, but Gajendra or Let Go is one of my favorites because I love the story that it's connected to, which is from the Bhakti tradition. And this theme of surrender is so meaningful to me, but to express it in English lyrics. And I just love it. And I love this bridge. A lot of people have been posting themselves singing it. Yeah. I just love that. I was telling Willow that a few weeks before we met up, I watched Hamilton when it went streaming online, and I was so inspired by the lyrics and the way that the music was composed and constructed, and I think that was in my head a little bit when I wrote this. So yeah, I love that song.
I love it.
Lastly, the most important one, both of you do an impression of each other from your experience in the studio.
100%. You're like, perfection.
Literally me.
Or like, I feel like that would be such a vibe.
Yeah, that's me. And then when I'm like on the keyboard trying to find the sound, Jahnavi's like, okay, I could see that maybe. I could see that. And I'm like, okay, she doesn't like this. Let's move on.
My favorite Willow is that hits differently.
Yeah.
That really hits different.
Yesterday when we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, oh, I kept on saying that. I was like, oh, that hits different. Oh, that hits different.
It's a great statement. I love it.
this is so
Everyone,
lovely.
Willow and Jahnavi, go and listen to the Rise EP. We'll put the link everywhere. Please go and check it out. It's
It will
a
transform your
beautiful
heart,
experience.
open it, and fill it with so much joy.
Yeah.
Oh, I will.
Go on, Jimmy.
It will transform your heart, open it, and fill it with so much joy.
But no, we really want you to go check it out. And thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much. And if you don't already, go and follow Willow and Jahnavi on Instagram and tag us when you share it. Tag them when you share it, because we want to hear you guys singing along. We want to see you finding your peace, finding your calm. And so please tag them when you share it, because they'll be looking out. We'll be looking out. And we're so grateful again to have you here on purpose. Thank you so much. Big thank you to Radhi for doing this with me today.
Thanks for having me on.
She's hired. She's hired.
Yeah.
Made the cut.
Make her a regular.
Hey everyone, my name's Jay Shetty and welcome to my YouTube channel. Every week I'm sharing 3 videos that are going to help you feel more fulfilled, feel more happy, and more successful. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you can find out about the videos as soon as they launch. Press the like button and leave a comment, and let's keep making wisdom go viral together. Make sure you subscribe.